Let's talk BBAI. Welcome back, Shade Squad. BBAI sitting at 5.04. I have not bought back in. I'm waiting for my signal. I've decided that for this play, I'm going to wait for my signal. You can buy here if you want. I wouldn't blame you. It's right at the purple line. But I'm going to wait for this other signal, which I rarely talk about this signal. Let's go over to the weekly time frame. So here's the signal. I think I did talk about it once, but I have a bunch of arrows here pointing to a MACD crossover, the white line crossing over that yellow line. What happens when that white line crosses over that yellow line? What happens? You can see here the stock, it marks a bottom, right? And then what happens? We eventually get a big surge. And what happened here? Same thing. We got the crossover signal, white line crossing over the yellow line right here. Stock went sideways. Boom. That's the signal I'm going to wait for. I'm going to wait for the momentum to shift to the buyer side. That's what I'm going to wait for. So I might end up buying more expensive. I may end up buying at like $6, but I'm just going to wait for the signal because this signal is very reliable. So, for example, here you could have bought at 425. It came down to 3.6, then rallied to 8. Here you could have bought at 1.79, came down as low as 1.2, rallied to 10 anyways. So you have multiple signals you can use. You can use the purple line as a signal to buy, which at this point this is a buy because it is at the purple line on the daily time frame, or you can buy on that crossover, that white line crossing over that yellow line. And that's what I'm going to wait for. It's probably going to take a few weeks, right? Because it's a weekly time frame. But it's a very reliable signal that marks a bottom and then an eventual surge. Or I get in and ride the momentum either way on that weekly crossover. Because we want the momentum on our side and we want the bleeding to stop. That's the most important thing, and that's why it's important to wait for that signal. Again, if you don't want to follow the MACD signal, you can buy at the 200 where it's at right now. But I'm going to play this one differently. I'm going to play this one differently just to be safe. Just to be safe, I'm going to play it differently. Because it's safer to wait for the signal. Right now, if you buy at the purple line, you're really betting that the company's going to turn it around and go to the moon on a catalyst. Whereas waiting for the signal, you know that momentum and buyers are on your side. That's the difference. Right now, we don't have buyers on our side. That's very obvious because we're still just falling. We're getting more red days than green days. Let's look at the monthly time frame. You can see here we've had 2 red months. Let's see how this month ends up. It's either going to be a sideways month or we're going to close red again. But at some point it has to start bottoming out, and it could be here at $5. So don't blame me for buying. I'm going to wait for my signal just to be safe. It's always safer to play the MACD weekly crossover, but it comes at the cost of, you buy a little more. I'll be buying at 550 or 580, whereas you're buying it at $5 and under. So that's kind of like the sacrifice there. You sacrifice getting in cheaper, but it comes at the benefit of you have momentum and buyers on your side, and the bleeding has already stopped. All right, guys, that's all I got to say with regards to BBAI. If you're using the 200 weighted moving average purple lines signal, it's a buy right now. If you want to wait for the crossover signal on the weekly MACD, you can sit back for a few weeks. It's going to be a while, but you'll be getting in with when the momentum and bleeding has stopped. That's what I'm going to do. Because I remember color stock. Color stock was my biggest loss this year. It was my worst call. That was me. I think that was the only worst call I had, if I recall. And my biggest mistake with color, let me show you, was I not waiting for that weekly crossover. So you can see it just keeps bleeding out, keeps bleeding out. And that's just long story short. I bought it the worst time possible, held the bag, and eventually had to take that loss. So if I had waited for the crossover signal, it would have been better. And even then, this thing just keeps trending to the downside, so it's not a very reliable signal on color. So overall, I'm just gonna play it safer. I don't want to have 2 bad calls this year. 1 is good enough. 2, not happening. So I'm gonna play it safer with less of a position. That's about it. That's all I gotta say. So